Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for joining and welcome to our Sonar webinar entitled Clean as You Code, No Pain, Lots to Gain. I'm Liz Ryan, your moderator for this webinar, which will be presented by Vivek Reghunath. Please allow me to quickly go over some essential housekeeping items before we get started. So the session today will last approximately 45 minutes, including Q&A. You all are invited to submit your questions via the Q&A box in Zoom, not in the chat box, but in the Zoom. We have two panelists joining us today, Chris Levy and Jiping Wu from our product management and SonarQube development teams. They're tasked with answering as many of your questions as possible live during the session. The session will be recorded and we will send out a link via email in the coming days. Finally, at the end of this webinar, a short survey will appear on your screen. We welcome your feedback. Thank you in advance for your participation. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to today's presenter, Vivek Reghunath. Vivek is a product manager at Sonar and brings more than a decade of experience working with software static analysis and code quality. His experience working with a wide spectrum of industries brings a holistic perspective to creating solutions for clean code. Vivek, over to you.
Thank you very much, Liz, for the introduction. I'm really excited to talk about Clean as You Code, the methodology today to you. And most importantly, I hope I can inspire to change the way you look at clean code and the way you approach quality of code for good. So first, let's see what we want to talk about today. First, why Clean as You Code? Why such a methodology is even needed? We will see that very quickly. And then setting up your projects for Clean as You Code methodology in SonarQube, and then practicing Clean as You Code in SonarQube. Once you set up, you have to practice it. We will see how. And then finally, what benefits you can get once you practice Clean as You Code in SonarQube. All right, that is what we will cover today. Let's get started. First, we need to understand why Clean as You Code, such a methodology, is needed, right? Code level technical debt is a bit like Mordred, sneaky and bad. We don't see it until it is too late. That is the problem with code level technical debt, isn't it? And with the classical approach of addressing technical debt, there are some problems. Usually, we have to look at overall code and look at number of issues. If you scan your total code base, you will see thousands of issues, and prioritizing issues from that and fixing issues is not an effective or efficient approach at all. Meanwhile, while you're just waiting for the debt to accumulate, your team keep adding the debt. That means while on one side you are cleaning up the debt, you're not fixing the leak. So more and more debt is getting added. So that approach is not really sustainable, is it? And this strategy have the biggest problem that while the debt is in the code, that affects the velocity because you have to keep adding debt and then you have to come back and clean it up with a debt addressing sprint, usually maybe when your release is approaching. Problem again is velocity. How many features you could have shipped if you don't have to face such a situation in the first place? Well, that takes us to a need for a new methodology. And with this Clean as You Code approach, we will focus on new code. Now, we need to see what is really new code, right? When we talk about software development in general, we go with increments of code, right? Over the years, we add new code or edit some of your existing or old code. Let's call such a increment as a new code increment. As you can see, what happens is over time, we keep adding new code increments. And when we add new code increments, we make sure that such increments are clean. That is all we will do. And what kind of effect that can have in your code base? First of all, if you do this, all added code is going to be clean. That is very clear because we are making sure that added code is clean. That is what the new code is all about. And what else can happen? The most important part here is as we practice this, our overall code gets cleaner and cleaner. That is the most impressive benefit of this methodology. And we need to see how. To see how, we need to understand the anatomy of new code. Yes. So usually when we talk about a new code, what does it really mean? So we have some code added, right? When we develop some new feature, obviously we are going to add some new code, totally brand new code. What else will we do? we are extending, right? So we will modify some of your old code. These are the two parts we will do. And when we are making sure that the new code is clean, we are making sure that in whatever new code we added, the new issues that we are introducing, we are cleaning it at the time itself. Also, when you are modifying some of your old code, we are cleaning those old parts of the code as well. By virtue of this, we can make sure that we are fixing the most important parts of the old code, because the most dynamic areas of your code base are where we will modify anyway, right? So with new code approach, with this approach of focusing on new code, we are not only cleaning the new added code, but most important parts of your old code as well. So let's see what will happen if you are practicing clean as you code from today. First of all code added from today will be clean. Most important parts of your old code will get cleaner. And finally, percentage of clean code in your overall code base will increase day by day. That is the overall picture for you why clean as you code methodology is very effective. It just not only clean or fix the leak, it makes sure that your overall code is getting clean as we go. And this basically is addressing all the problems that we have with the classical approach. And most importantly, while we do this, developers can focus on their new code, the code they own, the one that they write, and don't have to worry about what happened in the past. This way, they can be happier. Cool. This is why we need such a methodology that is very efficient, arguably the most efficient way to reach clean code. Now it's time for us to see how we do this, how we set this up in our product, SonarQube. Setting up clean as you code basically have 4 very simple steps, and we will see all of it today. And let me be clear in the beginning, we are not talking about Sonar Lint today. Sonar Lint is a solution from Sonar that runs in your IDE and helps you clean in the IDE. But I would expect that you're using Sonar Lint to begin with. But today we will focus on SonarQube and how to do this clean as you code methodology in SonarQube. That is what we will focus on today. Great. Now, the first step is to set up clean code goals or your quality standard, right? Remember why this is important. What is the job of clean as you code methodology is to carry you to the standard that is set up for the project. So once you have the clean code goal set up, clean as you code is a vehicle that will carry you to your goals. It's a methodology that makes sure that you are on the fastest path to your goal. So to do that, we first need a standard, right? Let's see how this standard can be set in SonarQube. So here we have something called quality profile. Quality profile is like a set of rules. Those rules we enforce on our code, new code or overall code. Now, there are such profiles per language. You can see a lot of them, and you will see Sonar Way. Sonar Way is the recommended quality profile for all projects. We recommend that you use Sonar Way. However, you can obviously create your own custom quality profiles. Let's start with something for say JavaScript. And I will inherit from SonarWay because I will use SonarWay as the base, which is recommended. Let's give a name like custom quality profile. Great. We have a quality profile here. And what we can see here is there are many rules active in this and some rules are inactive. You can obviously customize and activate more rules as you prefer, no problem. And basically now we have a profile, a quality profile that is your standard for the project. And you can basically assign projects to this. Let's say I want to assign one of my projects to it. I can choose to do so. Basically, now I have a quality standard defined for my project. And this way, we know where clean as you code methodology have to carry you to. Remember, we recommend you to use Sonar Way as it is the most workable or more suitable quality profile that will make sure that you have the cleanest possible code. So we recommend you use that. Now, coming back here, let's see, we have done the first step. We have a goal. We have a standard to reach. That is great. Now, what else we have to do? The next step for us here is obviously define new code. Earlier, we discussed what is new code for Sonar, right? And we said how important it is to focus on new code. That way, just by focusing on new code, we can make sure that our overall code is getting cleaner. Now, we need to understand that, okay, for each team and their context, new code can be different. So suitable definition of what is new can be different, right? For some, it may be the changes made after the last release. For some, it may be like number of days. We will see how this is done, what kind of options we have. Let's see this in SonarQube, right? Let's see it. And as we go, we will speak about that. Cool. So we are in SonarQube again. Now we are going to deal with new code definition. And you know why we are doing this? We are telling SonarQube, okay, in our team, what does it mean to say new code? This allows SonarQube to detect and understand what is new so that we can report issues on your new code scope. And you can go here and we can say new code. We see a few options here. Obviously, we are explaining what each option does mean. Let's see, first of all, we have something called a global setting, right? Use the global setting if I prefer to use that. Now we need to understand what is the global setting. Say if you're administrating a SonarQube or generally quality in your organization, you may want to set up a default value that can be used by most teams as the new code definition, right? And how can we do that? We can obviously go to administration and let's search for new code. And we can define a new code behavior here. And by doing this, we can make sure that any project will start with this option. If most of your teams are using continuous versioning, proper versioning, like, okay, from 10.5 to 10.6, you can definitely use this option as your default. And then whenever you create a project or anybody in your organization creates a project that will start with this, that have an opportunity to start with this option. Now let's get back to our previous screen where we were creating the new code definition. Now I may switch from my global setting to specific setting that is suitable for my project. Now, let's see what options do we have. Previous version is a very popular option because many software teams, as you know, uses versioning, proper versioning. So if you have such versions, like you're making a release every 1 month, 2 months, half a month, you can obviously use this previous version option. And when the version bump happens, SonarQube relies on that version bump to detect, okay, everything happened after that version bump will be treated as new code, and any issue in that will be what your team will focus on. Now, what if your team is delivering multiple times a day? You are into continuous delivery. We recommend you use number of days in that case. Let's say you can use something like 30 days as a window for new code. So what it does is that in that case, SonarQube will say, okay, every code change that you made in the last 30 days is treated as new code, and any issue in that will be reported in the new code. So that is how number of days as the option will behave. You can choose any number up to 90 days as the value. So you have the ability to tailor it based on your needs, your team's needs. Now, you can also use a reference branch as an option if your team is using feature branches. Usually you may be using a feature branch to develop your feature and then you will merge back. In this case, you can use this option to compare with a reference branch and contrast the difference and report everything in that contrast area as your a new issue. This is suitable if you're using feature branch as a concept in your team. So you can see that we have a number of options here to customize your new code definition instead of just giving a simple option. Why is this? Because it is very important that we customize this new code definition to suit the development context of your team. is very important because that is what will make this methodology really practicable. This way, your team, the option you select will make sense for your team, right? That is how we can ensure that you can actually use this methodology. Now, one more thing to note here is automation. A lot of times you will have thousands of projects, if not hundreds, and you may be relying on APIs to automatically onboard projects, right? In that case, what will happen most often is that you may have a simple default that will be set as your new code definition when your project is onboarded, right? Now, that is great. For many teams, that will work. But it is always nice with the team's context, if they are using release, daily release or monthly, whatever their context is, always review the new code definition option they have chosen. And you can always go to the UI like we did today and override this option and make sure that the option selected is most suitable for the team. So that is what we need to do about new code setting. One final thing I wanted to tell you about new code setting, the new code definition, is you can also set this per branch. If you have commercial editions of SonarQube, you can set different values for this new code definition per branch to absolutely tailor to your needs. Cool. Now we have clearly defined what is new, and we also have defined the standard, the quality standard with the quality profile upfront. 2 steps are done. Now, let's go to the next step at this stage, which is set up a clean as you code compliant quality gate. Now, a quality gate allows you to add conditions to your new code or even overall code. However, today we are talking about clean as you code, and clean as you code methodology, as we discussed, focuses on new code, right? New changes, the new code increment. So it is important that we focus today on new code, and the conditions we will talk about today will be also about new code, right? Let's see the recommended quality gate by going into SonarQube again, because it's better to show you rather than just talking about it, right? And let me introduce this new clean as you code criteria that we are introducing. This is coming with SonarQube 10.3. And you can see there are 4 conditions, very simple conditions. And those conditions are on new code. And these conditions are going to make sure that your new code is absolutely clean all the time. Remember, we are talking about new code and not old code. So our focus of where these conditions are applied is limited to our new code only. First condition here is 0 issues on your new code. That means we have to resolve all issues that is reported by SonarQube in your new code. New code, right? And all security hotspots must be reviewed. This way, you make sure that the new code increment is clean. That is what our goal with clean as you code is anyway, right? And 2 more conditions, and that is we have sufficient coverage. That is 80% here, and duplication should not be more than 3%. Now, obviously, when I say this, you might ask, Vivek, we don't want to have 80% coverage here. We think some other value will be more suitable for our team. Sure, no problem. That is where you can create a custom quality gate. Let's call it as custom quality gate. And I created a sample quality gate here. You can see when we create a quality gate, we have the same conditions to start with. The quality gate is compliant with clean as you code methodology, reassuring, right? And what else can we do? We can go ahead and customize the coverage to say 60 because that is what you prefer here. We changed it. We are still clean as you code compliant. No problem for changing the coverage goal that you have. Or duplication, you can customize that and you will be still clean as you code compliant. What is important is you remain with these conditions and you make sure that these conditions are here regardless of what value for these last 2, that is coverage and duplication. Now, sometimes you may want to add even more conditions. You may want to have some conditions on overall code just because you want to also make sure that overall code is safe for some reason, some use case. Of course, you can do that. you can unlock editing and add condition on overall code. Let's say line coverage, and let's go here. And I will set something like 60. I have added the condition. You have a condition on overall code now, and we are still clean as you code compliant. So what we need is a clean as you code compliant quality gate. You can still customize and still be clean as you code compliant, and this quality gate will make sure that we are in perfect shape to practice clean as you code later. So that is what we can do with a clean as you code compliant quality gate. So all thing you need to worry about is the 4 conditions are there, right? And you may configure your pipeline to fail if your quality gate fails. You can find this at SonarQube documentation if you ever want to consider. I just wanted to let you know that such a possibility exists. All right, it's time to get back to our steps. Now we have completed 3 steps. We have set up the clean code goal with the quality profile. We also set up our new code definition. We know now what is new in your project. We have also set up a quality gate that is clean as you code compliant. Perfect. Now, what does that take us to? It's time for a poll. Let's have a poll now. How often do you scan your delivery branch, or your main branch for that matter? Every day, once a week, once a month, once per release? What is it for you? All right. I'm so interested to know this. How often do you scan? Excellent. So we have the results here. A lot of people, 37% think every day. That is impressive. And at the same time, 38% once per release. And why this is very important? Let's see why this is very important. That is where the last part, the 4th step of our setup for clean as you code is coming in. No matter how much setup we did with this goal setting and quality gate and quality profile, everything is done. But if we are not scanning the project frequently enough, SonarQube cannot help you, right? We need to make sure that the project is frequently scanned, regularly scanned. And this is something you can set up. You don't have to manually worry about this or do it. So first thing, you are using pull requests, for example. You have to make sure that your pull requests are scanned. You have to also make sure that your branches, the active branches, are also scanned regularly. And to do this, SonarQube have really thorough coverage of CI and DevOps platform integrations. This way, by taking advantage of the CI and DevOps platform integrations, you can not only make sure that your branches, your active branches are scanned regularly, you can also make sure that all your pull requests are scanned as well. This way, you can absolutely make sure that all your new code increments are clearly identified, and for them there is a standard check, and for them you have an opportunity to fix those issues that are detected by SonarQube. So don't forget this last step. Even though the previous 3 steps are done, if we are not setting up regular scans, SonarQube cannot help you. So make sure you have CI integration, DevOps integration, so that the scan is done very regularly, not once per release. Because if you do it once per release, we will be detecting issues way too late in the process. That is the problem. And that will be not clean as you code at that point. You have to continuously keep watch on your quality and keep fixing them as you make them, so that the debt won't live in the repository, affecting the velocity of your team. Cool. So congratulations. We have now set up your project for clean as you code. Excellent. Now that will allow us to go to practicing clean as you code, right? Let's talk a little bit about what does it mean to practice. Now, projects are set up for clean as you code. Great. Now we need to make sure that all new code increments are clean, right? What does it mean to say new code increments are clean? That means there is no unresolved issues in the new code increment. Clear? Now, in the new code, we don't want any issues kept open for long. Very simple. And we have such options to address. Like, we recommend that when SonarQube is detecting issues in your new code scope, fix most of it. Because remember, SonarQube is detecting issues based on your chosen quality standard. That means this standard is what we are trying to achieve, and it is important to fix all the issues that is reported, if not all, as much as you can. Excellent. Now, sometimes what happens is you don't want to fix some issues. You don't want to do it now. You want to postpone it and maybe fix it later. In that case, you can mark them as won't fix, or you can mark them as false positives if you think that a specific occurrence or reported issue is a false positive. You can obviously do that. Now, let's see how this is done in SonarQube. Now we'll go and see there are issues here, right? You can just select an issue and say resolve as won't fix. Now that issue gone into the pool of issues that you won't fix. You may select another issue and say mark as false positive. This is how you do it. And when you do it, you may want to revisit them. You will obviously find them in the resolution tab on the filters. You can find one fix. You can obviously go there and get back. If you want to get them back, you can reopen them. Well, you got them back. So if you want to also do a bulk action, you want to act upon multiple issues at the same time, you want to say one fix to multiple issues or want to mark multiple issues as false positive, you can obviously select multiple issues and do a bulk action where you can say, okay, I'm not going to fix these issues. You can put the reason here. That way your team knows why you have decided not to fix it. Excellent. So this is what you can do to resolve your issues. But remember, try to fix as many issues as you can. That way you can make sure that your new code increment is clean. Now we have another poll. Let's say you have set up everything and we want to now know what % of issues do you fix when your quality gate fails. If you're already using SonarQube or Sonar Cloud, tell us how many %. Is it 100%? Are you fixing all of it? Or are you fixing at least 90% of it? Or is it something more than 50 but less than 90? Or is it even less than 50%? Let's see what our audience think today. Come on. Excellent. I'm so pleased to see that 19% of our audience do fix 100% of all issues. That is excellent, really remarkable. And again, another 34%, more than 90% of issues are fixed. So we see that a lot of you are already really doing great with SonarQube. That is excellent to see. Now, let's move on to the next step at this point. What are the benefits of practicing clean as you code, right? We have talked about setting up clean as you code and practicing clean as you code. And initially, we discussed why such a methodology to start with. But now it is the time, if you practice this as a developer, what benefit are you going to get, right? It's easy to show setup and stuff, but now let's see what is the result. I have taken an example project here, and this is Vue.js. And what would have happened if the team developing this project have used the clean as you code methodology for 2 years, right? For the last 2 years. It could have saved 1,441 issues without additional effort. Any debt addressing sprint. Without any debt addressing sprint, they could have saved 1,441 issues. You can see how the issues kept adding to the repository. Now, just saying these issues, here is a repository. Let's take a quick look at this situation here. You can see in SonarQube that here is our project. You can see in the last 2 years alone, this is the area of clean code attributes that are affected. You can see 294 issue on adaptability, for example. Now let's come back here and talk a bit about what does it really mean. What does it mean to say 1,441 fewer issues could have been the state of the project if you have used clean as you code, right? That is what we are here for. Now, I have taken a look at the all issues on the left-hand side here. That is absolutely all issues in the project that is open. And here, new issues that are introduced in the last 2 years where the team could have used clean as you code. That means these many issues could have been avoided. And the results clearly astounding, isn't it? 31% more reliable the project should have been, 21% more maintainable, 19% more consistent, 18% intentional, and 38% more adaptable. Now, let it sink in for a moment. What does that mean? We have to think this part. This is the absolute minimum benefit this team could have gained from using clean as you code. Because remember, there is a lot of code leaving the repository, a lot of code that is edited or modified, and issues will be addressed there also, right? And some issues will leave the repository, and we are not even talking about that. And if we factor that part, numbers will go even higher. So we can clearly see that by practicing clean as you code, any team using on a legacy project or new project, regardless of what kind of project you are working on, everybody can benefit from clean as you code and in practical life and this way. And now we will see what does that mean, these numbers mean in your life as a developer, right? Here you go, that are the benefits. Focus only on the new and edited code. As a developer, you can focus on your new and edited code and not really old code that you have to read a lot to understand in the first place. This way, developers can stay happy. Your development team's happiness is one of the important things, right? And any code added from now is clean. You fix the leak. Once you adopt this methodology, your new code, anything added from now is clean. Your software remains as an asset. By practicing clean as you code, your software remains an asset, not a liability that you have to abandon at some point in time, right? That is the most important part here. And easier to extend your code base because your code base is so maintainable now because thanks to clean as you code, your team members who are joining your team can onboard much faster. It is easier to understand the most important and recent changes because there is no debt in that area. That is what clean as you code is doing for you and your future teammates who will join. No more debt addressing sprints because we stopped accumulating any new debt already, right? So what happens is you don't have to worry about, okay, release is coming, so we have to do a debt addressing sprint now so that things are under control. You don't have to do it anymore because clean as you code takes care of cleaning it as you code. So yeah, improved feature delivery. And improved feature delivery velocity. That is what you will get with this. I'm sure as a developer, you appreciate these benefits and hopefully you can adopt this methodology for your team and that will change the way you approach clean code for good. Now, let's recap. Clean as you code is the most efficient path to clean code and the most sustainable one at that. This is minimum practice every team should do because this is very easy entry. You don't have to worry about, trying to enforce a very high standard on overall code base. So this is a very approachable methodology for every team. So I recommend you start with clean as you code today. And SonarQube 10.3 is releasing today. So I welcome you to go and take a look at SonarQube as soon as it releases 10.3 and all the shiny features. You got to see me demoing the SonarQube 10.3 first. Nobody have seen it before you. And I'm so happy that I could demo the SonarQube 10.3 to you today. And thank you very much for listening. And we will continue now. Off to you, Liz.
Okay, great. Thanks, Vivek. As we move into a time of Q&A and we gather your questions, I briefly want to share that we have 2 more great webinars that you can register for. First, you can join Stefan Schiller for Securing with Clean Code on Unveiling and Mitigating Vulnerabilities on December 6th. And you can also join our team at AWS for a webinar on integrating Sonar clean code practices in AWS CI/CD workflows on December 12th. Links to register for both are available in the chat. Now you'll see a brief poll to indicate if you'd like to learn more from us about our solution. So if you go ahead and take a minute and fill out that poll, we'd greatly appreciate your feedback. I'll give it a couple minutes here for everyone to add their responses. Okay, looks great. So as a reminder, after the Q&A, a short survey will appear, and we'd greatly appreciate your feedback, and that's about our webinar. So we appreciate that when you fill that out. So moving into our Q&A, looks like we've got some questions to answer. First one, Vivek, here we go. How does new code work with a pull request in SonarQube Enterprise? Is the new code setting relevant with pull requests?
Excellent question. Actually, a lot of people ask this question that why do you need new code definition and new code for increment when you have pull request scan already? In Sonar products, we prioritize speed of feedback towards the left. That is in IDE or in pull request scan. The scan is done in such a way that we prioritize speed. So it is important that you scan your branches that are active or target branches so that you can make sure that all issues that SonarQube can detect is detected in your new code increment, because every issue cannot be detected in a PR scan because we have to prioritize speed there. This is why it is important for you to also make sure that your target branches are scanned regularly. I hope that is clear now.
Perfect. Thanks, Vivek. How about this one? Let's see. What if our teams use continuous delivery, no versioning from a master branch with feature branches merged to the master? Which option is recommended? Number of days or reference branch? And then what are the trade-offs for both options in this case?
So if you're using continuous delivery for your team, number of days is the recommended option in this case. And because if you're continuously delivering, you don't have too much time gap between like every day you are delivering. So it makes sense that you take number of days. So if you're using reference branch as your option, the thing there is that it will allow you to keep your changes in that branch and reference it to a reference branch. And every change done to that can be counted as new and merge. So you can do the both options in the same project with branches. If you have that kind of mechanism, you may keep number of days on the main branch, and then on other specific feature branches, you can use reference branch as well.
Great. Here's another one. Do we have to define our own unit test cases and unit testing methods to test the coverage, or does SonarQube do that automatically?
Can you repeat the question, Liz?
Sure. Do we have to define our own unit test cases and unit testing methods to test the coverage, or does SonarQube do that automatically? This is
of course, we will integrate the coverage and we will read it, but we need a report and you have to do the rest on your own.
Perfect. Let's see here. Why are clean as you code criteria so strict?
Clean as you code criteria is strict. People think this way, but the truth is that this criteria is applied only to new code, right? New code scope. So the new code scope is not the whole project, only a specific part of the project that is changed recently or some code you have added. This is always going to be small. And this is why the quality standard there is high. And this is the only way you can have a high standard actually. If you try to apply a high standard to the overall code, it's not going to be easy to apply that, right? That is why we focus on new code that is smaller scope, where that you don't have too many issues to deal with, so that it is viable to achieve a much higher standard, and that is zero issues. That is why we have a higher standard for the new code scope. That is Clean as you code criteria.
Perfect. Okay, let's see what else we have here. We've got a few more minutes, so I'm going to try to sift through. We've got a lot of questions. So you probably covered this, but we'll refresh. What's the clear difference between clean code and clean as you code?
Cool. Clean code is the standard, right? It's the standard for the code that is secure, maintainable, and really clean. So it is the standard that you want to achieve. That is clean code. Whereas clean as you code is the methodology that will take you there. It is the vehicle that will carry you to clean code. So that is the difference. Clean code will ensure that standard will ensure that your code is an asset, your software is an asset, and clean as you code will keep that as an asset as time passes. So the job of clean as you code as a methodology is that it is a vehicle that carry you to clean code. That is the difference. Clean code is the standard.
Perfect. Good to make that delineation. Okay, here's the next one. This one's a little specific. So, and we were just talking about new code versus overall code, so I think it's a good one. We follow Clean as you code organizationally. In that context, an issue we come across is our coverage numbers taking a hit when a line of code is modified. For example, when a variable is renamed or the formatting changes. Is there a way to break out new versus modified?
So in SonarQube, we have something called a fudge factor, so that when we look at new code, there you can turn on, turn off how the behavior of the coverage is handled to address this problem. And generally, you can see that you can set up different target goals for coverage for new code and overall code with two different conditions.
Okay. And we also consider, and you've probably mentioned this too, like we also consider all added and edited code as new code.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
yeah,
good to mention. Is Clean as you code available in Sonar Lint?
it's coming. It's coming. That is all I can say today. You will see more of the concept there as time passes.
Okay. All right. That's great. There are a ton more questions, but just in the interest of time, we're gonna stop here, and we will. If we didn't cover your question, we'll add them to the community where you can reference any questions and answers that we didn't address today. You can also visit sonarsource.com to see more on clean code and clean as you code, and check out information on our future webinars and events. So thank you again, Vivek, for hosting today, and thank you for everyone in advance for attending and providing all of your great feedback on our survey and our poll questions. We really appreciate your attendance. So thank you, and see you all soon.
Thank you very much, Liz. Bye-bye.